Hey gun addicts, this is Boss with UGA coming at you today with a little bit of information about how you might be able to save money on optics, or how you might actually use the money that you have to spend more efficiently. So why would I even think of this, or what made me want to do this review? Well, I'm buying a Pulsar thermal optic. It's an Apex 75A. That'll be coming in soon, tomorrow, and you will definitely see a review on that. And it got me thinking about how I was able to afford that particular optic, and I wanted it very badly. And what led to that was something that happened in the past. I was sitting looking in my gun closet, and I was pretty happy because there were a lot of guns in there, and that always brings a smile to my face. And I started noticing that each one of my rifles had a scope on it. And on top of that, not only did they have a scope, some of them had this pretty much the same scope, or very close to the same scope. Like, I started counting across my rifles and realized that I had 7 or 8 3x9 scopes, because every time I bought a rifle, I bought a scope. And each one of those scopes cost between $300 and $400, depending on rebates and sales, things like that. So it started crossing my mind that, man, that was a lot of money that I had in 3x9 scopes. And how many 3x9 scopes do I really need? The downside was each manufacturer has a different mount spacings for their scopes, for your bases, etc. So it's not like I had the flexibility just to move my scope. Say I bought one 3x9 to fit my needs. I couldn't just move that around. So it got me thinking about how I could better maximize the scopes that I had in my closet already. And so what I did was I ended up selling a lot of my 3x9 scopes. I actually had some duplications in other places I sold too. And that gave me the money then, which has allowed me to buy a couple guns, some other things, some reloading equipment, and then I've been able to sell some of those guns, etc., to buy the Pulsar. So you can kind of see how this is working. So it got me to thinking about, since I was thinking about doing a review on the Pulsar, I got to thinking about providing you guys with some information that I found that works for me, and maybe it'd work for you. If you have a lot of guns, you're a gun addict like myself, and you want to maximize the use of your scopes across many different platforms. So, how many guns can you take to the field with you? All right, you know, for me, usually it's a primary and a backup. So how many optics do I need to take out to the field? Well, if I'm going out with 2 guns, I probably need at least 2 optics. So do they need to be the same power magnification? Well, no. What I found was, when I was looking at my needs, and your needs may be a little different, so you're going to have to explore that. But for my needs, I found that between 1 to 6 up to maybe 24 power, and 24 is the highest magnification I had, I really only need 5 scopes. So maybe 4 if I really wanted to minimize, because I could cut 1 out. But and that excludes the Pulsar. Thermal's a whole different thing. So I started thinking, well, gosh, maybe I could sell all these other scopes that I've got and then turn that around to buy a little bit better glass, or maybe a new stock or barrel, or it could be that I could buy a whole new gun, you know, depending on what you've got in your closet, or if you're just new and starting out. The amount of money you can save over time is substantial. If I'm looking at 8 scopes of the same brand, and between $300 and $400, and we're talking about $2,400 right there, that'll buy you a Schmidt & Bender scope, one of the best scopes on the market. Now, does it benefit me more maybe to have a Schmidt & Bender, or does it benefit me more to have 8 3x9 scopes in my closet? Well, I don't know. For me, I thought maybe I would increase the quality of my glass and thereby reducing the number in my closet, but I had to find a way to move my scopes from rifle to rifle. And there are 2 primary ways that I found in the market to do that. One is with the Picatinny rail system. Okay, Picatinny rail system has established a norm in the industry. It's used on many different platforms, say from an AR-15. This comes with an integrated Picatinny system on it, as well as my AR-10. Kind of the same thing. All right, it doesn't come with weaver. Now, we'll talk about that in a second. So the Picatinny rail system and the weaver system are probably the two primary rail systems that you could use to move your scopes from platform to platform if you establish one. So I decided that I would go with Picatinny. The reason being, and I kind of explained this just a little bit, the gaps between these rails on Picatinny are wider and they're uniform. Now, why does that matter? Well, on weaver, they're narrower and they're not uniform. So what this means to you, maybe when you're thinking about, making a shift like this. You're thinking, gosh, maybe that's not a bad idea. Well, what happens is, it means that a weaver mount with rings will fit on a base that's a Picatinny just fine. This is a weaver one piece, and it fits fine on a Picatinny system. However, if you were to reverse that, okay, and say this was a Picatinny mounting system, and this was a weaver base, probably 95% of the time it won't fit, okay? The gaps under here are going to be too wide to fit in the narrow weaver rails, and they're not going to line up right, okay? This becomes an issue. So the Picatinny mounting system and rail system offers you more flexibility when you're wanting to move your scopes from rifle to rifle. Now, this is a 22, but say I want to go out, my buddy and I were going to go out and we're going to shoot long distance, and I'm thinking about using this particular Bushnell glass. It's 3x12, I think it's 4200 Elite, and it's a light scope, and I'm thinking I'm going to be using a heavy barrel, so let's keep this light. Well, we move this out of the way, reach into the closet, grab my 22-250. You'll notice it has a Picatinny rail on top. Grab the mount, and that's all the more challenging it is to mount this. Now, obviously, I'm going to torque these down more if we're going out. I'm definitely going to torque these down, but for ease of demonstration, I left these loose, so just bear with me on that, okay? So, one thing you might be thinking is, okay, well, now what about your eye relief, you know? Can you get proper eye relief, because this is a single base here? Well, the great thing about Picatinny is there are so many gaps in their rail system. It allows you to take this optic and this mount and move it backwards or forwards to adjust your eye relief. That's a beautiful system, because I can put my buddy on here. Maybe I am further back depending on my body structure, etc., and how I sit on the gun. I might be right here. Well, he might be this way. Well, I can just move it forward a little bit for him. Okay, we lock it down, go to the range, put a couple shots on paper, and we are good to go. All right, so when we're out hunting, well, you might ask, hey, say you took this scope off of this 22 here, okay, and you moved it over here to the 22-250. Well, is it going to hit the same point of impact? Probably not. I suspect no. I mean, you'd have to be absolutely insanely lucky for that to happen. Where it's mounted, the caliber, where this sends these particular bullets to come out of this, it's going to differ, greatly from this system. So, is there a way to get around that though? Yeah, if I had this scope previously mounted to this rail system, I keep track of the torque for these mounting screws here. Okay, make a note of where my dials are for elevation and windage. And if I were to mount it on the same exact rails, okay, the gaps in these rails, well then I can be pretty close, But for me, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm thinking if I'm going to go out to the range and put 2 shots out there, it doesn't cost me much time. My bullets will go where I want them to go when I'm out in the field, and that's important to me. So, but you could use that method to try to keep similar point of impact without having to go to the range. So, I guess one of the main concerns then is, will this scope fit all of my guns? Absolutely. If I'm using a Picatinny rail system, I could mount this scope here, my AR-10, okay? Could mount it on my 300 Win Mag, etc. And if, say, I wanted higher magnification, wanted to go out in the field, and my 3x12 optic wasn't enough for me, well then I can come over here and grab this 6x24. This is Vortex Viper FFP PST scope. I really like this piece of glass too, but I could just as easily take this off. Now I'm going to need a wrench to remove this, but I could just take this off and mount it on any of my other rifles. It makes it incredibly convenient. So I found that right now I have about 5 pieces of glass that I use, and 5 optics that I use consistently. So I don't need any more than that, and except for the thermal, exception to the rule. So what could you do with the money that you might save? Well, there's a lot of things. We discussed those before, so it's kind of your choice on how you want to do it. I've bought more expensive glass. I've just sold a Bushnell HDMR. It's 3.5 by 21, probably my best scope. It was an FFP scope, and I actually sold that and a gun and some other equipment to get the thermal optic that's coming in. So I think that by reducing the number of scopes in your closet, maximizing their use through a Picatinny rail system, and it gives you more flexibility money-wise. Now, if you're rich and you can just afford 1,000,000 scopes, hey buddy, more power to you. I mean, probably I would if I could, but I'm not in that situation. So if you're like me, you might have to think of creative ways to maximize the resources that you have available. So last but not least, why can't you just use a standard mounting system? I'll take this off of here. I did take the screws out earlier. A standard mounting system with the standard bases. Why can't you just move that from gun to gun? Well, the problem is the distance here to here. It differs from rifle to rifle, manufacturer to manufacturer. This is a Savage 17 HMR, and it is the only base rifle I've got. Probably because this is a 17 HMR Cabela scope. It's fairly inexpensive, and it matches up with this rifle, so there's no point in really moving it. It's got a BDC reticle made for the 17 HMR. So I just paired those up and call it good. I didn't put a Picatinny on that for that specific reason. But say I wanted to mount this scope. Say this was a great scope, and I had it here on a standard base. Now, say this rifle is also a Savage. If you guys can see this, I'll try to zoom in on that for you. But look at the difference in the width of the mounting here. Okay? There's no way I can just move this optic over to this rifle. I'm going to have to loosen the rings. I'm going to have to slide them around. And once I get it mounted, not only that, I'm going to have to slide my scope forward and back to get the right eye relief, because this holds still. So the only way to get eye relief on a scope with the standard bases is to mount it and then move your scope back and forth to get the proper eye relief. So it just becomes a real hassle. Nobody really wants to mess with that. Whereas, you know, Picatinny rail system, you just grab your gun. We've done it 100 times here. Grab your mount, slap it on, tighten it down, and you're good to go. So I would encourage you to examine this option if money's a little tighter, or if you want to have greater flexibility with your optics and use a great piece of glass on multiple rifles. It gives you tremendous flexibility in that area. It's cheap, standard rail. This one says it costs 31 something. This is by EGW, Evolution Gunworks. All my rails, unless they're integrated into the system, come from EGW. I'm not promoting them because they pay me or anything. It's because I test bedded these and I was so pleased with the results. I didn't have to bed these to the receiver, which I thought I might have to do. The workmanship and craftsmanship of this product has been absolutely stellar. So I definitely feel good about promoting these guys. And you can get 0 MOA up to 20 MOA, 15 MOA, and MOA is the tilt. You can look that up on YouTube. But they give you a lot of flexibility for options on distance, how far you're going to be shooting. A lot of different platforms that these fit on. I've got them on all my guns that need one, and just been blown away. So for 31 to 50 bucks, you're squared away, and that would be for aluminum. Now, some of you guys might want steel. That's going to cost more, and there are other options. I mean, EGW is not the only brand manufacturer out there making these things. So you can spend as much as you want, up to 150 bucks. I try to get as much as I can for my money. So for 30 to 50 bucks, I think these guys are a steal. So anyways, I appreciate you guys coming back. I hope to be doing a review soon on that pulsar when it comes in. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. We love having you guys over here, and if you got a particular review you want, or you have a discussion or question, I'll do my best to answer it in a timely manner. I am a busy guy, but I'll try to squeeze it in, all right? So this is Boss signing out. Thanks for joining us. Take care.